Good afternoon and welcome to Overtime. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has ordered all military officers above the rank of brigadier to return to D.C. immediately, actually to return to Virginia. We'll discuss that in a minute. The way it was reported in Washington Post was somewhat misleading. It said that he was reporting all foreign admirals and generals as well, and that made it sound like he's going to the French military and saying, "Yeah, get your generals to down here. We need to talk to them," which would have been even more concerning. But what was actually meant by that was he is not requesting all admirals and generals that are in the U.S. He's requesting all U.S. admirals and generals worldwide. So he is recalling all admirals and generals everywhere in Europe, everywhere in the Middle East, South America. All of them are to return immediately. There was what we believe was a misprint that said that they are going to the Pentagon. They are not. They are going to be meeting in the Marine base in Quantico, Virginia. So as of this moment, we can confirm that Pete Hegseth has ordered all admirals and generals in the entire United States military and in the Navy, the equivalent. They use a different system. Everything equivalent for admiral or general in the Navy. This is several hundred to be at the military base in Quantico, Virginia, for a meeting. We believe it is scheduled for this coming Tuesday, where nobody knows what he's going to say or do. This has raised significant alarm at the Pentagon. He has given no reasons for this. He has simply said, show up. It's an extraordinarily unusual move. If it's happened in the past, I don't know when. We have spoken to Commander McMillan. He is not available for this show. We do have a show with him tonight, downtime, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're probably going to move that up. I've spoken with him. He will be available in the coming hours, and we're going to talk and then probably bring him on so that you guys can ask him questions and we can get a better idea from a former military commander, I should say former retired military commander, about what is going on. In my discussion with him, one of the first things that we thought about is it looks like next week there's going to be a government shutdown. Both sides seem to actually want this shutdown. The reason is because Democrats believe that the incumbent will be blamed for the shutdown, which is 90% of the time what happens. Republicans believe that they can spin this and that they have a strong enough base to blame the Democrats. Even if they can't, the shutdown will give them an opportunity for mass firings. Trump has already said if there is a shutdown, he is not going to do the usual furlough of employees. He is not going to he's not going to do furloughs. What he's going to actually do is mass firings, and he's directed every agency at this point to establish what programs will lose funding in the shutdown and prepare them to be shut down permanently. So this is, if that's actually how he proceeds, one would imagine he's still going to check, and make sure that the necessary programs stay. But this is the same guy who was responsible for the firing of the guys who maintained the nuclear warheads, before he figured out that, maybe we shouldn't fire those people. And they've been trying to hire back, and they've been finding this very difficult. So when the assassination of Charlie Kirk happened, the FBI tried to hire back the field director that they fired for that area because she was the most experienced FBI agent in the area, and she refused. She's like, no, I'm not coming back. So they don't have very many experienced investigators anymore because they fired them all. At this point, it looks like the reason that they're summoning these generals and admirals to Washington is to let them know that a large number of them are going to be fired. Given the number of firings in the military in the first 100 days, this is one of the more popular beliefs going on right now. One of the more popular theories is that they're going to be told, basically, sign a loyalty pledge or you're fired. Either that or they're just going to get summarily fired. Or, and I jokingly said to Commander McMillan, or they're going to start World War III. He said, well, don't count that one out either. And I thought he was joking, but he pointed out, and we've said this before, I think everything is the Epstein files. I think absolutely everything is the Epstein files. I think the Epstein files ends this administration if they get out. I think it ends it. It's over. And so I think Trump will do anything to keep them from getting out. I think that's what we've been seeing. I think that's been borne out by how he's creating crisis after crisis to try to distract from it. So the pending government shutdown would be a delightful crisis and an opportunity to make mass firings. And if that doesn't work, start a war with Venezuela or Colombia or somebody. So even if they were starting a war, and this is the thing, even if Trump decided he wanted to start a war with another country, he would not be summoning every admiral and general to Quantico. So this is something bigger than that. My personal opinion at this point is that it's going to be to sign loyalty pledges or you're out. Keep in mind, he is now requiring loyalty pledges for all of the media covering the Pentagon. He's gotten rid of AP, New York Times, from the internal press pool at the Pentagon, and they will be required to sign I think it's a 23-page document that says that they will not release any information that is not previously authorized for release by the Pentagon. What that means is the Pentagon they'll just write press releases. They'll say, well, we did an assault, no civilians were killed, all our guys came back safely, it was another perfect mission under the flawless leader, here you go. And you can print that or not print that, but you can't print anything else. You can't sit there and say, well, wait a minute, what are those body bags doing over there? Oh, you're not allowed to talk about those. Sorry. And that's literally what they've given to the press. If you want to cover the DOD, you have to sign a pledge that you will not release anything that isn't authorized by the DOD. You're not media anymore. You're just a mouthpiece. You're a megaphone. That's it. That's all your platform becomes at that point. So, and if somebody at the DOD, an unnamed source comes up to you and says, oh, yeah, I've got evidence that the DOD has been, funneling money from here to here illegally and trafficking in cocaine, you can't print that because it's not been released by the DOD. I mean, that's how serious this is. So why he wouldn't do that with the admirals and generals at this point is beyond me. But I think that's going to create a significant crisis because most of the admirals and generals, I think, are going to resent being told by a Fox television news host that they have to sign loyalty pledges to, my guess would be to Donald Trump. We've had this discussion before. I know in the wake of the Kirk shooting, there's been a lot of reflection, both about violence and the language we use. And I'd like to think those of you who have watched us know that I am not prone to hyperbole, and I always try to say, look, this is what we know, this is what we're guessing at, and try to de-escalate, because I think it's important. But I've called Trump a fascist many, many times, and I will continue to do so. And I've heard from the right, well, that's the language that's inflammatory. The problem is he is a fascist, and if you don't call him one, you make it easier for him to do what he's trying to do. He has said that he's going to eliminate the First Amendment. He didn't say it that way, but he said he's going to pull the FCC licenses of anyone who gives him bad press. That he did say. He said that on Air Force One. He said that any newspaper that prints bad, that gives him bad reporting should also be shut down. He said that years ago. When you take what he said about the media and the press, that's fascist. When you listen to what he says about the military and using them as police forces in the U.S., sending the Marines into U.S. cities, that is fascist. That's why it's illegal. That's why we have posse comitatus. He wants to suspend habeas corpus. He essentially has in several cases. That's fascist. That is a fascist move. Now, somebody may say, well, it's been done in the past. Well, yeah. It was a fascist move when Lincoln did it. That was one of the reasons. That was. Now, I don't think Lincoln was a fascist, but we've all done stupid things. It doesn't mean we're stupid. We've all done brilliant things. We've all had moments of brilliance. Doesn't mean we're all Einstein. And Einstein's done stupid things. You're capable of doing things that are a certain. Lincoln did do things that were fascist. That doesn't mean he was one. Having said that, John Wilkes Booth thought he was sic semper tyrannis. Again, that's why I understand that language is important. Having said that as well, so why do I say Trump is a fascist? Because he has done enough fascist things, he has enough fascist tendencies, and every single response to every crisis, to every situation, is a fascist one. Let's have a military parade. Let's honor me. Let's build a golden ballroom. Let's bulldoze, hundreds of years of, let's just, and make sure my name is emblazoned on it. Oh, yeah. I wonder why I think he's a fascist. Oh, and we'll silence anybody who criticizes me and anybody who makes fun of me. Where have I seen that before? So, we've talked before, on In Time, about sort of the order of how a fascist takes over. We've used Augusto Pinochet as the example because I think he's closest to that, although if you take a look at the rise of the Third Reich, there are many similarities. How and when. One of the most concerning ones, and we said to expect this. He's going to change. If he's a fascist, which I believe he is, he's going to change the loyalty oaths from being loyal to the Constitution to being loyal to him. That is a staggering change. And was it a change required for Adolf Hitler to come to power during the Third Reich? The military had taken an oath to the Chancellor, who was, in fact, Adolf Hitler. But they changed the oath from to Chancellor to the person. There's a difference between the office and the person, except in a dictatorship. Trump wants to rule it all. There's already essentially, and somebody called this, well, it's not a loyalty pledge. It doesn't say you have to pledge your loyalty. Yes, it does. That's exactly what it says. It doesn't use those words, but it says you're going to only submit the information we tell you to submit, and that's it. Sign it or you're done. That's a loyalty pledge. So my suspicion is they're all going to get loyalty pledges, and they're going to be told they've got 24 hours to mull it over before the government shutdown. And when the government shuts down, anyone who hasn't signed it is done. that could result in a gutting of senior U.S. and experienced U.S. military officials, including and especially those with combat experience. You'd think he's not that stupid. He's already done it with every major agency in the U.S. We have not yet felt the effects of that, but we're going to start to feel the effect. We're already, we're not going to be doing science anymore in this country. We're not going to be building anything anymore, despite what he says. We're losing factories. We lost a factory because of the ice raids. That was the, what was it, the Toyota factory? No, it was a car factory we lost from... South Korea. They're just like, it's too much trouble to build in the U.S. because of all the ice raids. Ford can't build here anymore because of all the tariffs. So it's staggering, but this is, if this is what I think this is, which is it's going to be what was called the Night of the Long Knives. It was where Hitler got rid of anyone who wasn't loyal to him. This one's going to be presumably without the violence, but I think he's going to say either you sign this pledge that you are loyal to Trump, not the United States, not the Constitution, not even the president, but to Donald Trump. You're done. And all of his picks for FBI, DOD, all his cabinet picks have been loyalty first, loyalty first, loyalty first. Doesn't matter if their previous experience was putting on makeup and doing a clown show on television, you're still qualified to be the head of the DOD. So we'll see how it works. I'm going to quickly check the live chat, but that's sort of what we're looking at. Titans, signing such an oath would be a violation of the oath. Exactly. That's an excellent point. And any general or admiral who signed such an oath would be violating the Constitution, and they had already taken an oath to uphold the Constitution. That's why also they're not allowed to do anything illegal. Having said that, they've already done at least a few illegal things. The attack on civilian boats has been illegal. How much the people pressing the buttons actually knew, I don't know, but Trump and Hegseth have violated the Constitution. Absolutely. In fact, they've committed murder. And listen, as I don't want to get sued for libel, especially by people who are willing to sue even when they know they're wrong, but they have. They've attacked unarmed civilian boats. The civilians may have been criminals, but they were civilian boats nonetheless. So, all right, let me quickly check. Yeah, this is so we're going to keep an eye on this on the Discord. And as I said, downtime is scheduled for tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. What we're going to do is probably push that up. We may go for 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. We're going to wait until I get a chance to chat with Commander a bit more, and we're going to see how we're going to frame this. I would like to give him a chance to talk to his military contacts and see what they have to say. If you're just joining us, this is one of the rare rundowns where you probably want to see the whole thing from the beginning, because I haven't even done a rundown yet. I've just covered the main breaking and the consequences of it. But it's really astonishing. Hegseth has summoned every general and every admiral, that we believe is several hundred total, from everywhere in the world to the Marine base at Quantico, Virginia. He is giving them until Tuesday to get there. This is every admiral and general in the Middle East, in Europe, everywhere. There are no exceptions. In fact, let me see. The order applies to all senior officials with the rank of brigadier, general or above, or their Navy equivalent, serving in command positions, and their top enlisted advisors. That's insane. The Washington Post says that this has sowed, quote, confusion and alarm at the Pentagon. As you can imagine, he hasn't said why. It's been listed as, quote, urgent. Again, if this was something truly having to do with a military issue, we think that Russia's about to attack, something like that. This could be done on Skype. You'd do this on Skype because you wouldn't want to take the time to move them, and you also wouldn't want your generals out of position. So my suspicion is that this is not we're about to be attacked, or we're about to engage in a serious attack. My suspicion is that this is a massive policy change. A massive policy change. And his last significant policy change was directing all press that covers the DoD to never print anything that hasn't been pre-authorized by the DoD first. And anyone who refuses to sign that pledge loses their credentials. So my guess is he's going to say something reasonably similar. He's going to say, look, we're about to have a shutdown. We're going to have to lay off a lot of people. If you want to be one of the ones considered for staying, if you want to be one of the ones, you have to sign this pledge of allegiance to Donald Trump, and then you can stay. My suspicion is it's going to be a reasonably small number, if any, who sign that, which would be staggering and would mean all of the upper leadership of the United States military would either resign or be fired. Yeah, this is basically, it's a Fourth Reich. I mean, this is what we're seeing. We saw this with Pinochet. We saw this with Stalin. We saw this with Hitler. We've seen this with this is why I say he's fascist. And I'm sorry for those who want to turn down the rhetoric, but if you don't call a duck, you're going to have a problem. It's very concerning. The U.S. military, I think, will never be the same after Tuesday, if this is what I suspect it is. Again, we don't know. He hasn't said anything. But again, if this was a military issue, he'd probably be keeping his experienced admirals and generals where they are. The fact that he's recalling them, I don't think it's going to be good news. Somebody has pointed out DOW and not DOD. They have changed the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. However, that name change, to the best of my ability to understand, is superficial. It hasn't been officially changed. It requires an act of Congress to change it. Everybody is using it. Not everybody. Everybody in his administration is using it. I refuse to use it for multiple reasons. And since currently it is still technically the Department of Defense because Congress has not changed the name, I'm calling it the DOD. I know that also makes it look like I do news and I call it the DOD. Everyone's like, did you get the memo? It's now the DOW. Yes, I got the memo. I also know that, again, the executive branch can call it whatever it wants to. They can call it the Gulf of Epstein if they want to. That'll keep people out of it. Anyways, they can call it what they like. The name is made by Congress. So it is currently technically the Department of Defense, and I have enough contempt for the sitting president that I'm certainly not going to call it that just because he thinks I should. Anyways, like I said, I think this is actually as much about the Epstein papers as anything else, because this is going to be a big story. It is causing, from what I'm reading here, and this is still reasonably new, it is causing panic in the Pentagon, and understandably so. Whatever it is he's doing, it really almost certainly can't be good. He's not calling them in to give them raises. The only two possibilities that I can really think of is he's calling them in to say, we're about to have a major war, and you all need to be apprised of this. We're going to do something really crazy. We're going to drop a nuke on, whatever. Or he's going to fire them. I don't think it's the nuke. And the reason I don't think that is because if that were true, as soon as he tells them it's going to get out, and he wouldn't want to tip anybody off, and he would want all of the senior military advisors, especially admirals and generals who've gone up through the ranks, and many of them have seen combat. He'd want them where they are now. He'd want them in their current positions. So I do not think that this is a kinetic issue. I don't think this is about war anywhere. I think this is going to be a complete restructuring of the military, and my suspicion is most of the Pentagon have figured that out. Like I said, what we're going to do, Commander McMillan and I have already spoken. He is going to be on downtime. We are probably going to push downtime up. Instead of 9 p.m., we're going to have it at some other time. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but this will be the primary topic. How and why this pertains to various times in history that somebody's done this, how and why this has to do with the Epstein, files and everything else. We'll cover all that. It'll be a downtime. It'll be laid back. If you want to ask questions, you can. Make sure you hit the bell so you get notifications, so you're notified when we do downtime. And also make sure that you join us on the Discord. We will be following the story. There's going to be leaks coming up as to what this is. We've seen leaks. There's not a lot of loyalty in this administration right now. That's one reason why they've given this pledge to try to prevent leaks, because anybody who leaks to an official source for the DOD, they're not going to publish it because they made a pledge not to, because the DOD hasn't authorized it. This is really scary and unbelievable. There's a question, can generals and admirals mutiny? Yeah, well, anybody can mutiny. I don't think they're going to, because, again, I think the admirals and generals are still going to be loyal to the Constitution. So it depends on how you define mutiny. I think they would resign before they would sign any pledge. It's going to get interesting. So, and I think the shutdown is going to be another very big story. I feel like this is Spain and that's kind of what it feels like. So we will see. Again, join us on the Discord. We're going to be following this and other stories. And downtime is going to be floating. My suspicion is it's going to be around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. And it will be with Commander McMillan, and we will discuss this. I'm going to give him a little extra time in order to talk to contacts that he's got and see if anybody's got any idea what's going on. So we look forward to seeing you then. Have a good night.